Hi everyone, Simon Keeling here. It is Friday the 18th of October. Thanks again for watching weatherweb.net, and just a reminder that the site's kept free of charge as always by the adverts you see around the screen here, so thanks for coming back. Thanks for using the site and for supporting WeatherWeb too. Right, so we've got the latest output from the Japanese Met Agency model, and this is a week 1 forecast. So this has taken us from yesterday, so from Thursday the 17th through to the 25th of October. And what this shows us here is this deep trough in the Atlantic here, west of the UK. There's the ridge towards the east during the coming week. But just look at that jet stream blowing across the Atlantic. Very, very strong jet stream. This indicating that the coming week basically is going to be one where we have that trough to the west. We're going to be unsettled, but with the proximity of this feature out towards the east, it does hint that more eastern parts of the country drier than the west. And of course, that's what we've been seeing in the forecast over the last few days. Now, if we compare that to the CFS Week 1 forecast, here's the trough look and here's the ridge. So they're certainly in agreement as to how things develop during the course of this week. And good agreement between the long-range models is always good for building confidence in the forecast overall. So on to week 2. This takes us forward from next Friday the 25th through to Friday the 1st of November. Can you believe it? Friday the 1st of November, goodness me. And this is how we shape up with that one. Big ridge look over the western parts of the States. Comes down to this jet stream across the Atlantic and a trough out here as well, just in the Atlantic west of the UK, but that ridge still there across many parts of Central Europe. So we're hinting at this generally westerly flow through the country. Below normal heights here, the blue colours, indicating that we're still in this low than normal height scenario, and therefore the jet is quite strong across the Atlantic. But what's interesting here is that that's weakened off to some extent, and we do see this kind of flattening out of the ridge down towards the south. So I think this shows us not much change really as we begin this period, which is actually the 26th of October. So probably still in the west to southwesterly, probably still unsettled, with the west being wetter than the east. And I think we have to account over the next couple of weeks for the potential for some very wet weather across western areas and windy too. But I think what this is hinting at, and I'm trying not to just see this, okay, I think it's actually there, is my idea I've been telling you about 3 or 4 days where a ridge will build in from the south and settle off the weather across most of the British Isles for 3 or 4 days. And I think this is sometime around the 29th of October that takes place. And I think there are signs on this chart of that happening. Now, CFS Week 2 for that same period looks like this. No hints of that ridge on here, look. Still got the deep trough west of the country, still got the ridge out towards the east. So actually, this not supporting my theory at all. It's just saying, well, actually, what you see is what you get. More of the same, basically, on the way. But I think this is a trick that the CFS has probably missed. So on to week 3 and week 4. So this now takes us into the early part of November. So this is taking us forward from the 2nd of November through to, it's a 2-week period. So this then takes us through to the 15th of November. So getting into the middle part of the month. And what's noticed from this is that the heights are generally above normal. We've got a deep trough across the eastern states and a strong jet stream here as well, coming across the Atlantic. But notice that the height lines actually spread out a little bit across the UK. We've got as well this trough feature here, this low than normal heights in the Mediterranean. Now, this is hinting a pattern to me that looks like it's got some sort of left exit region in here of the jet stream, which is a development area basically for lower pressure within that sort of zone. And I think perhaps that hinting that lows could form in there and perhaps just become centred here somewhere across the north or the east of Greenland. Now, if that happens, what that will do is tend to strengthen off this trough, make it more elongated like so, and have a tendency to try and build a ridge in here. Also, with this trough down here, there'll be a tendency for the winds to pull back more into a northwesterly here, feed this feature here, and so eventually set up some sort of trough feature. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't end up with some sort of pattern getting towards the end of this period that looks something like this, where we get quite a deep trough forming here in the Atlantic. We then get a ridge here, but down in the Med we get that sort of feature taking place like so. This would potentially generate higher pressure up here, being an Omega block, and could well bring us into east or southeasterly winds and a drier spell of weather into this middle part of November. Now, there is good agreement from the CFS on this particular theory of mine. This is the week 3 forecast going forward from the 1st of November through to the 7th of November. And look, here's the trough over Greenland, okay? Here's the ridge in the Atlantic, and here's the ridge building through Scandinavia. Now, we've got a little trough feature down here cut off, and we've got this trough deepening here, so low pressure over the eastern part of the Mediterranean. What's interesting here, though, is this idea of the heights building, high pressure over Scandinavia, and this would bring in an east to southeasterly wind during this spell. Now, I think the CFS is early here. Don't think it's going to build in quite that quickly, but it's interesting that it's trying to show that. And if we look forward to week 4, this is what's on week 4 as well. Look, we've got again the idea of the ridge out towards the east and high pressure in here, also out in the Atlantic, but we've got this trough feature here out towards the west. Now, there's your Omega high shape in here, and that's the pattern that I've been telling you about. Now, I'm not sure this is exactly the way this pans out and that this pattern is exactly correct, but what's interesting is that the theory there seems to be working. So the idea of that pattern developing seems to be a correct one. So this is the idea I'm going to go with for now. So we see that pressure build right at the end of October for a few days. I think it breaks down then. I'm sure that early part of November it breaks down. But then it builds in. And the signs of high pressure being in there across much of the country, middle part of November. And I do think during that spell, it could actually become pretty cool. It's quite nice when it all comes together like that, isn't it? Of course, it hasn't happened yet, so it could all completely change. But that's the theory for now. So hopefully that's been useful for you. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget that we're kept free of charge by the adverts you see around the screen here. That means that we don't have to charge you any subscription fees. I know some prefer the idea of no mention of adverts, no adverts on the screen at all, in which case I'm more than happy to take subscription revenues from you. I'm open to it, so any suggestions you've got, please let me know. But for now, we're doing quite nicely because of you coming back and visiting us. So once again, thanks for watching weatherweb.net. So we'll see how this develops over the coming days and weeks. But for now, whatever you're doing, have a great day and keep the sun shining. Bye for now.